Cinema Gold Show. I am your host, Larry Leese. Today we're looking at the latest box office news and movie news from around the industry. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Poddex, for sponsoring this episode. You can check them out today at poddex.com and use the promo code Larry21 for 10% off your first purchase. And now, our first main topic, Eternals holds off a big red dog. The MCU's latest leads a lackluster weekend as we look ahead to the big tentpole holiday releases during the weekend of November 12th to 14th. There wasn't a lot of fanfare at the box office this weekend, and Sony may regret moving Ghostbusters Afterlife from its original release date on Thursday, November 11th to next week on November 19th. Call it the calm before a holiday season, as kids are getting vaccinated in great numbers, and the industry is hoping there are plenty of returns to movie theaters before the new Spider-Man film sets a new benchmark. But there is another comic book film that continues to lead the way, and this weekend provided more clues just far it will go. Disney Marvel The Eternals once again led the box office for a second straight week. It fell 61% down to $27.5 million, which tracks with most of the films earning over $70 million in their opening weekend. Well, this year, of course. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings fell 54%, while Venom, Let There Be Carnage, Black Widow, F9 fell between 64.7% and 67.8%. Eternals had the second best hold among the five top openers. The haul this weekend brings the film total up to $119 million. That's far lower than Shang-Chi, Venom 2, and Black Widow had after 10 days. The total is also still higher than F9's $116.1 million at the same point, and that provides hope that Eternals can reach the $175 million floor that every MCU film, not titled The Incredible Hulk, has hit. Eternals total ranks between the first Twilight film and the first Toy Story among all-time November releases, two films that grossed $192 million and $191 million respectively, though both of them had lower openings and much higher second weeks. Again, in Eternals' favor is the fact that the only November releases to have grossed $100 million in 10 days and not break $175 million were The Matrix Revolutions, Fantastic Beasts, The Crime of Grindelwald, Die Another Day, 2012, and Quantum of Solace. Fantastic Beasts was the highest 10-day total among them with $116 million, so this could indeed be close. But putting Eternals' final haul right around $175 million is our starting point this week. Globally, it's currently over $281 million. After an indefinite delay from the studio and a yank from the Toronto Film Festival, Clifford the Big Red Dog had a $16.4 million opening weekend, even as it premiered on Paramount Plus at the same time. That is added to tallies from its opening since Wednesday, which is now total $22 million. Is this as big a deal as some are saying? Is this a sign that families are now coming back to theaters? Well, not entirely. The baseline for a family film debuting as a hybrid on the streaming service came from this summer's Paw Patrol, which had a $13.1 million opening and $15.6 million 5-day haul. Like all films this past week, Clifford saw a nice bump from Veterans Day on Thursday. The mostly live-action Clifford is actually on pace with the Boss Baby Family Business, which had $22 million after 5 days. So yes, it is a fine start for the Big Red Dog, and the Thanksgiving holiday will only help if everyone doesn't switch over to Encanto, but it is still nothing for the industry to get pumped about, especially if a portion of their demographic is still unvaccinated and staying home to watch. Speaking of films you can see at home, Warner Bros. Dune Part 1 may have gotten what it needs to become just the second HBO Max hybrid release to gross over $100 million. $5.5 million is the 8th best fourth weekend of the pandemic, and the film is still relatively closely aligned to the numbers that Jungle Cruise had over the summer. Dune is at $93.1 million after just a 28% drop. That is a better fourth weekend drop than every other Warner Bros. HBO Max release except Tom and Jerry, which fell just 8%. All the other films fell over 40%, including their lone $100 million grosser Godzilla vs. Kong, which fell 45.9% to $4.29 million. Their current champ took 40 days before it reached $93 million. Also available for a cost at home this past week, whether people were aware or not, was No Time to Die. Nevertheless, it fell only 23% this weekend, grossing $4.6 million to become just the fifth film during the pandemic to gross over $150 million. The film continues to pace ahead of A Quiet Place 2, now beating its fifth weekend as it marched towards $160 million. Globally, the film is approaching $700 million, hitting an even bigger milestone as Venom, Let There Be Carnage, with an impressive 10% drop in its seventh weekend, earning $4 million to become only the second film in the pandemic to gross $200 million domestic, which we'll later discuss even further. It has made over $430 million worldwide. In the back half of the top 10, we continue to see Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch, drawing its share of the specialty audience. With another $1.7 million, its total rises to $11.5 million, and it's currently the only film during the pandemic to open fewer than 1,500 theaters and gross more than $7 million. Neon is hoping that Pablo Larraín Spencer can join that exclusive club. That film added 269 theaters to its run this weekend and watched it gross $1.5 million to bring its total to $4.7 million. Also opening this weekend is the award hopeful Belfast. The semi-autobiographical drama from Focus opened to $1.6 million in just 580 theaters for a $2,700 per theater average, slightly stronger than Spencer's $2,100 average opening in 996 theaters last week, and better than the studio's release of The Card Counter in the same number of theaters. It went on to gross $2.65 million. As teased earlier, Sony and Jason Reitman's Ghostbusters Afterlife finally hits theaters after a 14-month delay from July 2020. It will take over the box office conversation next weekend, as we'll see if nostalgia can drive it to become one of the biggest hits of the season. It currently stands at 73% on the tomato meter and may indeed dip lower. Also opening is King Richard, with Will Smith in a performance getting a lot of awards attention as Venus and Serena Williams' father. The drama will also be streaming as part of your HBO Max subscription and currently stands at 91% with critics. And now our second topic, like we mentioned earlier, Venom is the second film of the pandemic to gross $200 million domestically. Over the weekend, Venom Let There Be Carnage crossed the $200 million mark at the domestic box office. Makes it just the second film since the pandemic began to earn that much money in the US alone. Legend of the Ten Rings is the other. Those numbers are all more impressive when you consider that the first Venom movie, released in 2018 when the theatrical landscape was completely different, grossed $213 million in theaters. So the sequel has a chance to tie or surpass the original in the middle of the COVID era. No wonder Sony is so bullish on continuing to mine Spider-Man comics for more spin-off movies. These are the top grossing movies of 2021 in the US, according to Box Office Mojo. At number 10, you got Godzilla vs. Kong, and then Jungle Cruise, followed by Eternals, then Free Guy, No Time to Die. Number 5, A Quiet Place Part 2. Number 4 is F9. Number 3 is Marvel's Black Widow. Then number 2 is Sony's Venom Let There Be Carnage at $202 million. And then at number 1, you have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings at $224 million. The box office has a long way to go before it's considered fully recovered from the pandemic. In 2019, 29 movies made more than $100 million in the US so far. So far in 2021, there's been only 9 with less than 2 months, and only a handful of blockbusters to go in the year. Still, it's good to know that if you put Tom Hardy in a movie with a wisecracking alien sludge that enjoys eating human brains, people will still come. I take a great deal of comfort in that. And now, on to our next topic. Before we do, let us know your thoughts about the box office current landscape, and whether do you think it'll slowly be able to recover before this year runs out. Let us know in the comment section below, and as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. But let's move on to our next topic, which is Lucasfilm has renewed Kathleen Kennedy's contract through 2024. Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kenendy extends her contract with the studio for another 3 years, keeping her as a president until at least 2024. When Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2012, Lucas handpicked Kenedy to be the studio's new president, entrusting his old colleague to oversee a new wave of Star Wars and Indiana Jones projects. Nearly a decade later, a slate of 5 Star Wars movies have been released. A plethora of Star Wars TV shows are coming through the pipeline. Indiana Jones 5 is currently filming ahead of its 2023 release date. Kennedy's tenure has proven to be divisive among audiences for a variety of reasons. Outside of creative decisions made for the Star Wars sequel trilogy splitting audiences, Lucasfilm has become rather infamous for behind-the-scenes turmoil, resulting in several filmmakers leaving the studio. Phil Lord and Chris Miller's shocking firing from Solo, A Star Wars Story is the most notable example. But Lucasfilm has also parted ways with Josh Trank, Colin Trevorrow, and others. More recently, Patty Jenkins' Star Wars spin-off Rogue Squadron was delayed due to creative differences. This has caused some to believe Lucasfilm would be better off without Kenedy, but alas, she's sticking around. In Matthew Baloney's newsletter for Puck, it's mentioned Kennedy's deal with Lucasfilm has been extended, keeping her in place as president until at least 2024. Kenedy previously had her contract extended for 3 years back in 2018, so a decision on her future had to be made soon. Even with the news about the Rogue Squadron delay, it would appear Disney is pleased with the way Kenedy is running Lucasfilm. Despite the sequel trilogy earning a mixed reception, Star Wars seems to be in strong place on the small screen. Mandalorian is the crown jewel of Disney Plus's lineup. You also have the Book of Boba Fett coming soon, Obi-Wan Kenobi, which everyone's dying to see, Ahsoka, and then Andor, and plenty more on the way. It remains to be seen how successful each of these series are, but anticipation for all are high, and the Disney higher-ups must be impressed by what they've seen so far. Indiana Jones 5 is also shaping up to be intriguing, with Logan director James Mangold calling the shots on Harrison Ford's probable final performance as the archaeologist. There is plenty of excitement surrounding these projects, though it will still be interesting to see what happens over the next few years. Disney, of course, wants to bring Star Wars back to movie theaters at some point. Should creative differences with directors persist, the company may decide to go in a different direction after 2024. Those type of issues pop up in the industry, but they've been quite prevalent at Lucasfilm since Kenedy took over. Lucasfilm's brass needs to work on ironing out any creative issues early in the process. By the time a new Star Wars movie is announced, everyone involved should be on the same page. And our final topic, Lethal Weapon 5 is being directed by Mel Gibson himself. The actor who has starred in the franchise as Martin Riggs, opposite Danny Glover as Roger Murtaugh, will be following the footsteps of the late Richard Donner. Gibson confirmed the news at a fan event in London, which took place at Intercontinental London, the O2, on Saturday. The man who directed all Lethal films, Richard Donner, he's a big guy, Gibson told the crowd. He was developing the screenplay and he got pretty far along with it. And he said to me one day, "Listen, kid, if I kick the bucket, you will do it." And I said, "Shut up." But he did indeed pass away. He went on to say, "But he did ask me to do it, and at the time I didn't say anything." He said to his wife and to the studio and the producer, "So I will be directing the 5th one." Mel Gibson has previously directed Hacksaw Ridge, Apocalypto, Passion of the Christ. It's not yet been confirmed whether he will reprise his role as Riggs in the new film, nor whether Donald Glover will return. The late filmmaker told the Daily Telegraph, quote, "This is the final one. It's both my privilege and duty to put it to bed. It's exciting, actually. It's the last one, I promise you that." And now, our final segment, which we like to refer to as the Poddex Film Night segment. So, to wrap up this episode, on our final segment, Today's question is, if you could go to the movies unlimited times for free, how often would you go? That's a tough question, but to think it through, I would probably go, if I can make it somehow, because it currently wouldn't work with my work schedule, but I'd go at least Friday through Sunday each week, just to catch up on like the big movies that get released, and then catch up on all the lesser known movies that nobody really pays attention to. So yeah, probably 3 times a week for each week. So let us know how many times you would go to the movies unlimited times for free. How often would you go? Let us know in the comments section below. And as always, thank you for watching. And if you want to support the channel and our podcast, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for watching the Cinema Gold Show podcast. Check out these other videos if you're interested in our content. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.